Okay, so this week is when I started to do a ranking of the Final Fantasy VII characters across various points in their history. I started, for those who have tuned in or tuning in for the first time, I started with the original game, the original Final Fantasy VII, 1997, and for reference, or if you're seeing this for the first time, this is how I decided to rank them. So I'll let you take a moment here to see where I held the original characters in the confines of the original release. Naturally, you see my favorites right at the top here. Some close seconds. Some people I really wanted to get more exposure. And, you know. And then on my second stream, I moved on to the spin-offs and compilation. Basically, any game in which the characters appeared afterwards, years later, from Advent Children to Kingdom Hearts, etc. And this is how I ultimately ranked them, and this took a while. This here took a real long time. A 3-hour stream almost. But, you know, pretty happy with where I placed everybody. I think I gave everyone enough justification for each one. I guess my only regret looking back is I didn't talk a little more about why I put Barrett here. And just to add a quick addendum to that, it mainly has to do with his short story from this book, On the Way to a Smile. He probably had the best short story, or at least the most tragic, because the timeline of Advent Children is actually really depressing. There's rampant disease and death. Characters like Cloud are still, you know, haunted by their past, and Barrett is also one of them. Barrett is deeply resentful, has a ton of regrets of how he handled things in the past, his actions as a terrorist and all that. Once again, something I really wish got covered in something that's more accessible material than just a book that I'm sure very few people have actually, like, read. So, you know. So, we had some up and downs, like, you know, disappointments in how Cloud was handled for so many years, and some of the other characters here. But it's a new dawn. It's a new dawn and a new saga, a new timeline. We are now officially in the Final Fantasy VII Remake saga here, and every character has essentially come back and have... This is essentially a reintroduction of these characters. A remake of these beloved characters. And I felt it was only fair that I rank each one as they are portrayed here in the remake. Now, I know it's technically... this remake is not finished. It's a trilogy. And... let me just lower that just a smidge. Sorry. Okay. So I know that the remake is technically not finished. It's a 3-parter. But I feel that there was enough there to judge the characters as far as their, you know, their first outing. How was everybody in part 1, basically. I felt there's enough there that I can give a nice tentative rank of where they are in the original, in the remake. Sorry, I gotta skip ahead in some of these more active songs. It's getting a little distracting. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so a little early for that, but okay. Anyway, let's see. When Remake got announced, I think that was one of the most defining moments of when I've seen the internet collectively happy. Like, pretty much all the toxicity and negativity of the internet, of social media, everybody just kind of came together in absolute joy and cheer, and just, it finally happened after years and years of begging, praying, pleading from Square to, you know, get that remake going. It finally happened. It finally got announced. And in fact, I think it's only fair I share my recollection of when that happened. Yep, got the video right here. 8 years ago, wow. Let's give Tifa a pause here for a sec. So I'll set the stage for you. It's E3 2015, and I'm in a theater, an actual movie theater, because this is when Sony was doing their E3 live presentations in a movie theater. And I think this was like, what, the third one I went to. I would go to them because, you know, it's a Monday, Tuesday night, and I'm free, probably jobless, but free at the time. And it was a free showing, and I'm like, yeah, sure, you know, it could be fun. And it is fun. It's fun. You go there, and, you know, when you're in a crowded room and people are popping off when big announcements come. I remember some of the big pop-offs. I mean, people popped off just for Undertale being announced for the PS4, for example. Or when they show Spider-Man or Uncharted 4. Batman Arkham Knight, that was a big pop-off. People got real happy when they showed that demonstration. God of War. Those were all... Yeah, it's fun. You know what? Your mileage may vary, but being surrounded by people, people who like share your hobbies, and all being collectively happy over something, it's fun. Even somebody as incredibly antisocial as I am still, you know, get some joys out of that. But nothing's gonna top E3 2015 for me, for a lot of people. And I only think it's fair that I share this recording of me as I brace myself for the... I had my phone out because I was getting the inclination. Like, there's already rumors, big rumors on the internet that Final Fantasy VII Remake was going to actually get announced. Like, actually confirmed and announced. So, when they started showing Square presentations, like showing World of Final Fantasy and all that, I had my phone out, you know, just in case. Just in case. Now, I want to warn you. I say some, I'm cringe in this video a little bit. I say a couple of dumb things. I geek out. I fanboy out. So just giving you some warnings there, you know. But I do want to stress, this was not a bit. This was all genuine. It was all genuine from the heart. I regret some stupid shit I say, kind of at the end there, but this was not a bit. This was like one of those moments where I actually, you know, felt emotions. So, indulge me a bit in memory lane. Give me your, you know, I'm gonna...
Exactly the remake we asked for, but still cute.
Now that adorable world of Final Fantasy will be released exclusively on PlayStation and PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita in 2016. Now many years ago, Square Enix released a groundbreaking title that went on to become one of the most beloved games in PlayStation and video game history.
Wait! Hold on!
Tonight,
Wait!
Oh, and by the way, just by the way, I would always get a bunch of comments of why was I filming in a portrait instead of landscape. I was nervous. I didn't want to mess the shot I had. Just you know. Time's a factor. I was afraid of, like, you know, shutting off the phone or whatever. So, you know, I didn't want to mess with it. So that's my excuse.
So by popular demand, we have a very special treat for everyone.
Fool me once, shame on you!
Long ago,
Oh!
we looked upon a foreboding sky. The memory of the star that threatened all burns eternal in our heart. Star. Long ago.
I'm going back a bit because admittance, that part was me kind of being a little bit throwing a bit. Where I go, fool me once, shame on you. That was me. I was just saying something stupid, thinking I was going to get some reactions. Because I'm referring to when a few months ago they did a similar event of like, oh, Final Fantasy VII is coming back, and everybody like sits up, and it turns out to be a re-release of Final Fantasy VII, the original. People were pissed, understandably. That was some real blue balling, and depending on who you ask, they did that on purpose or just totally like, oops, we shouldn't have done that. And I don't know if that factored into releasing this trailer, because there's been some reports like from Nomura that they kind of released this teaser a little too early. Anyway, that's my last interruption. I'm mentioning that because when I do my little girly jump there, that's when I switch from doing a bit to, oh wait, no, oh no, wait, this is real.
Fool me once, shame on you!
Long ago, we looked upon a foreboding sky. The memory of the star that threatened all burns eternal in our hearts.
I can't. No. Holy shit! Holy I'm gonna die!
Perhaps it was no more than wishful thinking.
Holy shit! I'm very happy right now!
But after the long calm, there are now the beginnings of a stir.
I think it's a sequel.
Oh my god.
The reunion at hand may bring joy,
I think it's a sequel.
may bring fear,
I was actually kind of right.
but let us embrace whatever it brings.
I'm coming for you!
Proud to announce that Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming first to PlayStation 4.
Where's Tifa?
Now, our ongoing partnership with Devolver Digital has
Who cares?
diverse and very unique
Who
titles
cares
to
anymore?
developers all around the world.
Yeah, that last statement is where I was real assy, and I was trying to make a joke, it's like, oh man, I feel bad for whoever has to follow up from that. But and in case you're wondering, the reason why I said I thought it might be a sequel is because I thought that maybe the trailer was trying to do like an intentional callback. Because, that's a thing they do. But I'm glad that's not the case, because I think a lot of people would have been disappointed if it was just a new Final Fantasy VII, the next story after Dirge of Cerberus. Like, sure, people would have been happy, but not it being the remake. So glad I was partially wrong. Now, this then led to the 5-year wait in which we see absolutely nothing besides a couple of concept trailers and all that. But eventually we got this we got this for real. Eventually we got the other E3 reintroduction. And that's where it shows, the battle system, the new character models for Cloud and Company. They show Tifa and everybody pops off. It's like, from then on, it's like completely, fully all in. Because there was a lot of worry, of course, justified worry. There was so much, like, interesting discussions. And maybe the biggest worry of all is, do they remember how to handle the characters? So, I mentioned here that at this point, people were getting really tired of Sad Sack Cloud. Of this Cloud from Advent Children that they just plucked and put into everything, where he's just extremely depressing and extremely serious with every little action, like almost never smiles, never cracks a joke, nothing. So, a lot of people were like concerned. It's like, if you're doing Remake Cloud, you have to go back to how he was originally, defined in the original, where he's much more like, yeah, he's serious, but the crack constantly, the facade constantly comes off. They're supposed to be a little more well-rounded. So that was like maybe the primary thing people were worried about. And then some hope started to come in when the devs, the Square devs, actually started saying, they actually acknowledged that, yeah, we've been using this Cloud too much, and we need to go back to, to how Cloud used to be. So with all that pretense out of the way, I think we can finally get this tier list started. So, yeah. Cloud Strife in Remake still has, darker colors compared to his original, but right away you notice a little more light in his eyes. He looks closer to how he is supposed to be in, being like that, trying to put up a confident bravado instead of just being head sulking sad sack. So, right away there's some positive, there's some hope there. Now, I'm gonna say this right. I'm gonna say this like right off the bat, just to get it out there. In my opinion, every single character in Remake is an improvement from the original. Every single one. Even the most minor characters. Some got massive improvements compared to the original. Some got only minor improvements. But nobody is a downgrade and nobody is just the same. Every single character has benefited from better writing, better dialogue and interactions, better designs, in fact. I can't think of a single one where it's like, I kind of preferred how they were before. It's like, no, everybody is absolutely an improvement. And chief among them is our boy Cloud here. Also, yeah, I forgot to name my tier list here. So at the very bottom, we've got 1-year-old Soldier 1-year-old class. Just that initial proof that Barrett is cracking the dad jokes right away. Number 2, we've got Loyal Little Doggy. Number 3, we've got That's How Ninjas Do It. Number 2, we've got Avalanche. And at the top, we've got Master of Fate. So, without hesitation, Cloud, who originally was an A tier in the compilation, is firmly now back at the top as a Master of Fate. I adore this version of Cloud. I'll even tell you that even though it's just the first part of Remake, this is my favorite Cloud. They took everything from the original. They've balanced back the humor, the situations that they put him through, and they completely justify my interpretation of the original Cloud. And like, this guy is a dork who's trying to be cool. Like, he is cool. He's a badass, He's an amazing fighter. And all that. But he's also a dork. Like, let's not mince words. He is a dork trying to be cool. And we see the cracks in that way more and in way funnier situations. Like the landlady, Marl, the landlady who fawns over Tifa, is saying, like, I don't know about this guy. He looks like he doesn't have any skills. And then Cloud shoots back in the most petulant way, in the most petulant, childish way. I got skills! Like, Cloud is this close from being Millhouse levels of, but Tifa thinks I'm cool. And Tifa's in the back like, eh. And it's that energy that I'm here for. Because just like in the original game, no matter what silly situation Cloud gets thrown into, and no matter how much, like, reservation he has at first, he tackles it with gusto. And it also leads to what's maybe my favorite scene in the entire remake, the whole Honeybee Inn dance-off. Because here's Cloud Strife, who's like a hero, a heroic icon to so many people, probably is tattooed on many people's, like, chests and shoulders. And, you know, oh man, this dude's so badass and etc. So here he is having just a big gay dance-off and just gets in there. And there's no situation where I wasn't, like, cracking a smile. And speaking of cracking a smile, for anybody who saw my previous stream in which I complained about hang on a second. I'll find it in a sec. Yep. Whoopsie doodle. I had mentioned how in Advent Children, they made this whole big deal about the climax, which is called Cloud Smiles. And we get the final shot of him, and it's absolutely not something I would call a smile at all. It's not even a smirk. It's nothing, really. So, opening of, just shortly in, of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yeah, here we are. Like, it's only 30 minutes in, and we just get this bit right here. This right here, yeah. This is almost more emotion than he has shown in the entirety of the compilation era. Just this getting a compliment and is doing like a half smirky, like, yeah, that was pretty cool, wasn't it, huh? But he's kind of a little bit embarrassed as well. I like, right away, this is like in the beginning, and this is already setting it up to let you know that this is a much more well-rounded Cloud. And there's still, you know, there's still serious elements as well. Like, well, I'm going to explain the scene. I'm going to talk about the scene more with Barrett later on, but yeah, you know, I'm going to save that for the Barrett talk. But anyway, yeah. Straight up, I have no reservations of calling Cloud Master of Fate. So, let's get that out of the way. Next up, we got Barrett. Not shown here, his shades, which I still think it's hilarious. I don't quite know why they went with that, and I'm not complaining. I think the shades look amazing. It's just funny that they, of all the characters who've gotten like changes in their remake designs, putting shades on Barrett is like maybe the most striking. You know, like, maybe it's not the biggest change, but it's what draws your attention the most. And him wearing the shades even at nighttime, even in dark areas, is just really funny. But I don't think they're doing it as a goof either. It's just, yeah. Other than that, like, you know, the rest of him here is Like he's got like he's got a much bigger gun arm, and he is. Yeah, I don't really got a lot to say. It's just that yeah. I mentioned before, we still don't get a lot of dark-skinned characters in RPGs, so, or even like video games. Period. I don't know if it's maybe a stretch to say, but I think Barrett here is maybe the most detailed dark-skinned character model ever put out in a video game. At least as far as the amazing amount of details he has and his animations and all that. I can't really think of anybody else, so, who comes to that level of quality. Let me switch over to a more low-key song here. Well, that's not going to do it. Yeah, that'll do it. So, this is one of the ones I have to like really think about where he belongs up here. I need a sec to gather my thoughts. So the good news is they dialed down the Mr. T Ebonics persona of Barrett, but they only dialed it down maybe 1.5 decibels lower. He's still very much a loud, bravado, like I'll take y'all on and all that. And you know, I know there was some controversy that some people thought maybe they were getting a little too stereotypical there, but at a certain point, opinions, at a certain point, it kind of balances out. Once, and I think the moment is after the bombing mission, and Barrett's giving his big speech. We're getting kind of a pastor vibe, you know? It's like, we blowing up those reactors and taking down Shinra. Can I get an amen? You know, it's like that level where, kind of like with Cloud, he's putting an act. He's also putting up an act. He's trying to be more cool and confident because, you know, he's the leader of Avalanche. So you get the sense that he's trying to do an act. And going back to this scene here, I think this scene here is like a really good indication of Barrett's character in Remake. So oh, how'd that happen? Whoops. I have never seen. How did I do that? Okay, sorry. So there's not enough time. The reactor's about to explode. The elevator's taking forever. He's getting very nervous. Yeah. He's getting very, like, concerned. But then he takes a turn and sees that Cloud, for whatever reason, is, like, very calm and composed. And I just love this shot here where you can see his shaking hand, and he's trying to, like, calm himself down. And this scene says a lot to me. It tells me that, you know, he's willing to do these dangerous missions, but he wants to come back alive, because he's a father. He's got a little girl to protect. He doesn't want to die. And, you know, I find that, like, this, like, does a great job of letting you know about that. And naturally, I also really love, more than anything, I love his interactions with Cloud. And the game does one of those things that I super love whenever an RPG does it, in which character banter evolves throughout the journey. So, in the beginning, Barrett and Cloud kind of hate each other's guts. You know, they're constantly talking shit to each other during battle. Then, at a certain point, another thing I really liked, at a certain point, Barrett starts to finally, like, accept Cloud who he is, and accept that he is on their side. It's the moment when Cloud, after they destroy the airbuster, and Cloud, I'm sorry about that. There we go. So they destroy the airbuster, and Cloud's falling, and he's telling him, get out of here, and then Barrett says, with, like, absolute humility, he says, I was wrong about you. And from then on, they become much more dependent on each other. They become bros, pretty much. And it reflects in the dialogue during the final act, where after battle they say things like, "Hey man, good job. Yeah, you too. I got your back, bro. Yeah." I really, really love it when games do that. I wish they did that with the other characters, but sadly, it's only with Barret and Cloud, by my recollection. So, and yeah, just like with the original, Barret is host to a lot of really great animation flourishes, some really subtle moments of character animation and expression, like when Elmira is talking about Aerith when they're all in Aerith's house, and she's like, she's not my daughter by blood, but I still care for her as my daughter. And we get the shot of Barret looking at his gun arm as she says that, and it's like that, and I'm like, yes, because if you played the original, you know exactly what that means. So that being said, he is almost at the top here. But just like with my original tier list, I'm just putting him here because his best moments are yet to come. Like, Rebirth, everybody's super excited about the Dying storyline for Rebirth. That's Barret's shining moment. I feel fairly confident by then he'll be up here. But for now, it's just a little bit. Like a point deducted, an A- or whatever. But yeah, Avalanche. That's where I'm placing him right now. I think a couple of new people came in, so once again, thank you all for stopping by, letting me indulge in this this little thing I got going here. Okay, so if you've seen my previous 2 streams, you know I like to really talk up a big game about Tifa here. And, I already mentioned before, I'm not going to get into it again, where there was this very embarrassing backlash about her remake design. Because, I'm not going to get into it. Naturally, I think pretty much a perfect look of the character. Anybody who says with a straight face of like, oh, they dialed down the sexy or they're too small. If you genuinely believe that, then oh boy, you're a lost cause. I'm sorry. Like, objectively, you're not worth listening to. So, getting that out of the way. So, naturally, everybody popped off big time when Tifa got announced. And gameplay-wise, I will tell you without hesitation, I mean, this is hardly a shocker. She's maybe the most fun character to play. Like, I'm still a big fan of playing as Cloud because I love the idea of the weight of Cloud's sword. And then you can do a stance where he walks super slow and it's basically in guard mode. The Punisher stance is incredible and it feels incredible. But Tifa is a Devil May Cry character. She's a Tekken character in an RPG. Like, you've seen the GIFs, you've seen the combo videos. Tifa is like the character you have to use to take on the super boss, to take on Vice. Because she's like the only one who's fast enough to do attacks and get out of the way. Straight up, Tifa is incredible as a gameplay concept. But it is with a little bit of regret that normally who's always at the top tier is just like with Barret, just a couple bits shy of being perfect in her reintroduction. You see, I treat Remake Part 1 as a reintroduction of the characters. You know, the idea of we're seeing them again for the first time. So, a lot of Tifa's role in Remake Part 1 is built off, you know, the fan demand and fervor that you had for her in previous entries, but just taking it as, you know, her appearance in the first game on its own spends most of the time like being like you're getting what's called the fan service aspects of the character. You're getting, oh, she's gorgeous and gets hit on by, you know, she like everybody in town is like really tries to hit on her, and she's being very flirtatious with Cloud, like no bones about it. There's sexual tension like from minute one, but you do still get those bits where there's, you know, there's more there that she's got. Like, you see it mainly with her reservations of Avalanche. Like, she's with Avalanche, but as said by Jesse and other characters, her heart's not really in it because she's not really big on terrorism. She's like, hey, I love you guys, not really big on murder. You know? Maybe we can dial the murder down a bit. In fact, it's even like a really great bit with her and Cloud where they take out some Shinra grunts and they knock them out. And Cloud's like, should I kill them? And she's like, no. And he's like, are you sure? I should maybe kill them. And she's like, Cloud, you're scaring me. So we get some of that. And of course, we get like we also get like the hints about her crippling loneliness, mainly from Marl, who tells Cloud, it's like, hey, she needs a friend. She needs a real friend. And that sets up a lot of implications. It's like, isn't she friends with Barrett and Jesse and all that? But that dialogue suggests that, you know, just as her namesake says, she keeps a lot of her actual personal worries, the things that actually bother her deep down, locked in her heart. And, you know, those moments are really good, but they're also like kind of few and far between in Remake. And that's why it's a real bummer. I'm going to pull this up. It's a real bummer that a lot of that was going to be shown a lot more in her scrapped chapter. So I got this book right here, the Material Ultimania, and far and away this is my favorite of the Final Fantasy books, of the Final Fantasy art books that I have. This thing I can't recommend enough. This isn't just pictures. You're getting design notes and documents of like every possible thing, every little thing, from cutscene to artwork to costumes to everything is in this book. This book is great. You really, really gotta get it. It's great. So, this book also reveals that there was an entire chapter that they were planning for Tifa. Tifa was going to get her own chapter. And based on what the book was saying, it was extensive. Like, surprisingly in-depth. It could have been a DLC. That's how big it was. The plan was, it was just going to be like taking place all within Midgar, and it was going to focus on a lot of aspects of the character. It was going to focus a lot about her past. You were going to get hints about her past, get more details about her relationship with other characters, like the Avalanche crew and all that. It was going to establish that, you know, she's a kick-ass fighter, which, you know, they don't need to do. You already get that from the game. But there was going to be bits where she was going to fight like hordes of enemies and just mop the floor with them. And there was also going to be a bit where you're gathering materials to make her wall market dress. Like, it was going to be a whole thing. But it's the parts that were going to like flesh out her character that I missed the most from the chapter. That and the secret underground, the secret room underneath the pinball machine. It was going to be in this chapter. So it's really disappointing that they took it out. Like, it's a bummer. And here's the other bummer. It keeps happening with Tifa. Original game, she was supposed to reunite with her master Zangen, who you never see again after the flashback. And we know he's alive, but for some reason you never see him again. There was going to be a boss battle with him, and you were going to fight him on a roof as an homage to Final Fantasy VI. And now there's this mission that was taken out. And, you know, it keeps happening. When is she going to get, you know, when is she going to get something that's like hers from her perspective? Because it's the one thing that's been missing in all these appearances, because her story is like so tied into Cloud's, which is totally fine. But I want, more than anything, one of the things I want the most in Rebirth is I hope they do we get the details of Nibelheim from her point of view, because we never get that, not really. It's like, you know, they're constantly focusing on Cloud, and Sephiroth's like, oh, I hate that Sephiroth, he killed my mom and burned my village. I want the camera to move over to Tifa. It's like, he killed my dad and burned my village too. Also, he cut me up real bad. You know? I have every right to hate him. So, I really, really hope that Rebirth is going to be where we finally see some of that. And I've got some theories of where the story could go after Rebirth. And if they play out the way I think they do, even halfway the way I do, Tifa's going to get some real much-needed exposure. Which I think is going to further justify what I was saying in the last stream, that as it stands, she has a very strong shot of being the most popular Final Fantasy character of all time right now. If it's not her, if it's still Cloud, she's a close second and climbing. The Tifa trending just continues, and it's gonna continue next week. So yeah, her best moments are yet to come. That's why she's not here. But you know, she's still great. That's not gonna change. I mean, like she says, you've seen how much ass I can kick. No, that's too intense. I'm not... Alright, I guess we're going to be back here. Old Reliable here with this playlist. I wish there was more. But I'm also going to move up a bit here. There we go. Alright, that works. So next up, we come to what has to be the biggest upset, the biggest personal surprise for me, and I'm just gonna get right to it. Never in a million years did I think this would happen, but let that sink in for a bit. So, you know, often people think that just because I really, really like Tifa the most that I dislike Aerith, and I mentioned that in a previous stream. It's like that's a really childish sentiment. Just because you like one character more than the other doesn't mean you dislike the other character, and it doesn't mean you have to shit on the other character to make a point. And I have been guilty of that in social media, often as, like, you know, gentle ribbing, but I can understand, like, it goes too far and all that. Like, you know, jokes don't land often. But Aerith has always been, despite that, Aerith has always been above average for me. There's still, like, lots more Final Fantasy heroines I vastly prefer, like Yuna, for example. Yuna and Rydia, and even Riku and all that. But this is literally the first time ever where it wasn't just liking the character. I genuinely adored Aerith in the remake. Like, genuinely. And I was shocked. And it's based on so many factors, but mainly two main factors. Number one, the ballsiest and biggest swings to the original story happen around Aerith, because spoilers for Remake, spoilers, for anybody who's listening. Aerith gets what's basically future vision. It seems to be a limited capacity, but Aerith is going by this with some knowledge of what happened previously. And that starts to like really kick in as the story's going forward. Like, she's saying the name of character. She's like showing familiarity with characters that before they even get introduced. Like, she's already happy to see Tifa. She mentions Marlene, and Tifa does this face. It's like, did I tell you about Marlene? How do you know about Marlene? Just stuff like that. It's like Aerith has like future vision. And at first, I was a little worried about that. I'm like, oh no, you're changing the story. You're changing the story. What are you doing? But then it starts to, when I let it sink in, I realize, actually, you know what? That's not really changing anything. Not really, not much. Because here's the thing. Even though she has that knowledge, she's not going out of her way to change things. Probably because she realizes she can't really. There's not much she can do. And that really comes ahead in the Sector 7 attack when the pillar's going to fall. Where Wedge, already like gets the idea. He's like, you don't think we're going to save everybody, do you? And Aerith has got like this little bit of sadness in her face. And she basically says, I'm not going to be able to change everything, but I'm going to do what I can. And as a result, rather than everybody dying in the Sector 7 collapse, she manages to save a few people. Like, and some people were like upset, like, you're diluting the tragedy, you're whitewashing the original tragedy. But the thing is, the large majority of people still died. Thousands died. That city, that block of the city got ruined. So, instead of complete and total genocide of Sector 7, it's still a massive, several 9/11s at once happening there. It's just showing you that, again, she's determined to do what she can. And that's leads to some, the most interesting, like, this is the most interesting that Aerith has ever been because of this little gimmick here. This is the most interesting. Somebody, like, way back put it best that Aerith in this version is kind of like the Obi-Wan of the group, and Sephiroth is the Darth Vader, and I think that's a really good way to put it. Like, I really love, like, during the final battle where she stares him right in the face and says, "You're wrong." But when she says you're wrong, she doesn't mean you are incorrect. She means your very existence is wrong. You don't belong here. Die, monster. You don't belong in this world. And yeah, it's the most interesting that's ever made. Now, I don't think she has the knowledge of what's going to happen to her later, because I think that's way too like, she says it herself. She says that she gets visions and she doesn't have complete knowledge, so she probably doesn't know. Now, whether it gets to a point where she realizes what's going to happen and if there's going to be any swerves or anything, we're going to have to wait and see about that. The other aspect that made Aerith, like, so great in Remake is just like how with Cloud they restored a lot of the silliness that was missing in his appearances in the compilation. They not only restored, like, the sassiness and just free-spiritedness of Aerith, they dialed it up to an almost parody level. It's almost like Aerith if she was written by Team 4-Star. And you see that throughout the entirety of Remake. Like, we're at a point where it's hard to name a favorite Aerith moment, but it's like, for example, when they're climbing up on the roof and she's like, "You worry too much. I'm not some princess who needs protecting." And then the ground gives way and she mutters like the tiniest little shit. and is so funny. It's so like, oh my god, I never would have expected Aerith of all people to say that, but it's just so it says so much from that one little utterance. And it's just many other just great moments where Aerith is just a goofball. Much like her former boy toy Zack, she's just a goof. A lovable goof who just says whatever's on her mind, but I don't want to say an airhead. She's not an airhead. She's just very, like, spunky and free. And I also want to think a lot of that is... I want to believe that a lot of that is tied to her future vision and her knowledge of the past, because for her, partly for her, this is a chance for her to reunite with the people she loves, her friends. She's like, oh boy, I get to do this again with all my besties. And, that just adds to more, bittersweet nature. Like you root for her. For her, it's another go around, and she's super pumped for that. But I can't. I have to like really emphasize one particular relationship. And I think you know exactly what it's going to be. I'm just looking for... There's a lot of images here, so I'm just trying to find... Yeah, maybe this one. You know where I'm going to go with this. Hey, I'm going to keep saying this. I utterly despise image searching on Google. It's the worst. I don't know why I can't just point to an image and it opens up and I have to get into this website full of ad blockers and all this crap. Anyway. What you're looking at here is the single best decision that the team behind Remake have made completely and utterly. Of all the smart decisions that they've made throughout Remake, this right here is the #1 best decision that they've made, and it's almost entirely fueled by fan desire. By fans who really liked how they got along originally, even though, honestly, it was just a few moments of interaction. Like, it's not a lot, but it was enough that people, like, legitimately, like, liked how the two of them got along as friends. So, putting that in the forefront, having them hit it off immediately, resulting in, bar none, like, the best moments in Remake, the absolute best one, in which, the two of them coming together and kicking butt with Don Corneo's goons, and then high-fiving, and the cute little bits where Aerith is imitating Tifa by doing, like, punches and kicks. Not to mention the single best meme of the whole thing, that I bet right now, if I Google the name Cherith, yep, sure enough, what an absolute perfect... Yeah. There's tons of these, but... yeah. Oh god. Was very scared to open up DeviantArt there. But anyway, yeah, Cherith. I guarantee you're going to see this again in Rebirth. They're going to find a way to put this back in. I guarantee it. Because this popped off so much. So with all the toxicity of shippers and the back and forth, the constant fighting, the waifu wars and all that nonsense, the one thing that pretty much the large majority unanimously came together and agreed on is that they deeply love the Aerith Tifa dynamic. And being told that we're going to get more of that in Rebirth is just makes me so happy. And now with Yuffie coming in, it's like, I want goddamn TAY in position. Let's go. It you know. Also, I think at this point there's more Tifa Aerith shippers than a lot of the other shipping groups. I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't hate it, so we'll leave it at that. Man, there's probably like so much more I could say, but no, straight up. Not only is this the best that Aerith has ever been, yeah, I'm putting her as above Cloud here. Never thought I'd see the day. Oh yeah. It has gotten to a point, the successful depiction of Aerith, that they have swayed me. I was one of those like purists who were like, no, she needs to die. That's an iconic moment and you need to stick with it. And by the time I get to the end of Remake, I'm like, you know, she doesn't have to die. The original game's still over there. It doesn't have to happen. I kinda don't want it to happen this time, because I'm not prepared. I didn't cry the first time, but if they go through with it this time, I'm gonna have like full snot in the nose, One Piece level crying. So I much rather like the notion that they're gonna subvert that to, you know, to have the maturity to say that, hey, this character doesn't need to be defined by having the #1 death scene in video games. To hell with fate. Get that out of the way. Oh, but what are we going to do about the meteor? Aerith has to die for the holy material. It's like, no. Who says? Find another way. The Final Fantasy franchise is known for finding alternate ways to defeat God. Man. Okay, so next up, we got the goodest boy, the doggo of doggos, everyone's favorite lab rat dog, Red 13. That's not your real name. What is it? So if you caught my previous streams, I mentioned that Red 13 was always a amazing character concept, but restricted by limitations. Like, Advent Children, he was only allowed to speak once because the mouth flaps were super hard to animate. And he's relegated to cameos and other appearances because, you know, I can't imagine how utterly expensive and difficult it is to render this kind of design and have it talk in a convincing manner. So that's why, with all the big money they threw into Remake, we finally get a fully realized, fully animated, like legitimately one of the best like looking character models in modern video games with Red 13. And he's only there in the final like half. No, not half, like the final few minutes or whatever. Few minutes. I'm stuttering. No, he's there for like the last couple of hours. He comes in super late, but it's enough for him to leave such an impression, all because of, again, his incredible animation flourishes, which I really gotta just show off here. Let me just... Yeah, this whole bit. I really want you to pay attention to just the teeth, the way his mouth flaps work. You know, his eyes and fur. I especially love this bit where his teeth retract. And it's coming up right now. Yeah, right here. That's incredible. Like the way his jaw just calms down. It's... Wow! Look at him! I've seen this so many times, and I'm still just impressed. God, this is like the best looking video game right now. It looks incredible. They went above and beyond what I was hoping for the visuals of the remake. You know? Like, I'm happy they didn't put this on PS3. It never would have looked this good on PS3. This you are looking at the money. Oh, Tifa's so pretty. Yeah. So, naturally, you know, he comes in late, so we don't get a lot of his story beats. Again, that's to come later. But just on visual spectacle, and also his interactions with Barrett, which are hilarious, and also give context to previous rants that Barrett made about Stamp, how he hates to see such a loyal animal used as a mascot for Shinra. It basically tells you, oh hey, Barrett's a dog lover. And he's trying to be like pals with Red, but Red is not a fan of two-legged things. But already I like their dynamic, and I'm dying to see more of that. So, bam. Honorary talking dog best friend. So, this is the whole party. As of part 1. This is going to be a nightmare when I have to do this again for Rebirth. Because of the additions of the other characters. But yeah, this is the whole party. I mean, you know, of the original games. The original remake. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about Yuffie down there. But now, for now, we're going to get to the side characters. Okay, so I don't think it's a controversial statement for me to say that nobody gave a shit about Jessie in the original. In fact, I'm very, very certain that a big chunk of people playing Remake don't even remember that Jessie was in the original. They looked at her in the trailers and be like, is that somebody new? Who is that? Like, what, did Tifa put her hair up in a ponytail? What's going on here? Yeah. Nobody cared about Jessie in the original. So, you want to talk about glow-ups. Still think the armor bit is kind of silly looking, but hey, whatever. So, they took one of the, like, extremely few character aspects that she had in the original. She had like 2 character aspects. Like, number 1, she makes bombs, but not very well. And number 2, might have a thing for clouds. So they took number 2 and dialed that shit up to such a absurd degree. Jessie is like Tina from Bob's Burgers, in which if she was a male character, it would be very problematic. She's not just thirsty, she's dying of thirst over Cloud. Call me Goku because I'm about to ride that cloud. She is just thirsting right from day 1. Right from minute 1. And some people complained about that. They thought it was a little too much. I read a comment kind of recently that kind of it kind of brings up a good point, where some purists complain that Final Fantasy VII Remake is less horny than the original, when in fact, no, it's actually more horny than the original. What it is that it's less juvenile. Less juvenile moments. Like looking up Tifa's skirt going up the stairs, and I highly doubt Cloud's going to rummage her drawers in Rebirth, or if he is, there's going to be a subversion to that or something. It's like it's less juvenile. But the horny factor, it's like Jessie is with her constant comments with Cloud. But not only that, Cloud and Tifa, and maybe this is bias as, you know, as a fan, but no, I've talked to other people and they've all like pretty much agreed. Cloud and Tifa have some of the most get a room tension between the two of them almost immediately from the start. There is some big, yo, Cloud, if you knocked on her door right now, she would be like, yo, get in here. It's absurd. I was almost worried there was going to be like I don't know. Like, people are still hopeful for Cloud and Aerith, and they have stuff too, but dang, does Tifa have a head start, honestly, where it stands. Anyway, so Jessie did get some controversy about the thirsting. I thought it was funny, but I do also feel like there was some extra bit of context there, in which Wedge goes up to Cloud and kind of tells him, hey, don't take her seriously with that. A lot of it is an act. Because Jessie used to be an actress at Gold Saucer, so with that extra, with that little bit, with that one line, it kind of tells you, she's fooling around. That's just her way of you know. So I find that kind of interesting. Makes you like go back and wonder how much of that was genuine and how much of that was just, her playing around. And you've got that mission, the bike mission, where if you do really well, she'll give you a kiss on the cheek and all that. So that tells me that, there was something there. And naturally, Jessie also feels like the test for Aerith, in which let's make this likable character who has feelings for the main character. Let's set her up. And then you get to the point where she dies, and you're going to feel super sad. And hey, it worked. A lot of people are like very hopeful that Jessie survived. I don't think she did. But a lot of people are like very hopeful, so she made an impact. If you had told me during the era of Advent Children that Jessie was going to get a figure, I would be very confused. But now, man, it's kind of crazy to think about. So where does she rank? Yeah. Yep. She gets enough. She gets a pretty much a complete story from the first game. Some really good interactions with her and the other characters. Would have liked to have seen more of her and Tifa, because in the Traces of Two Paths novel, Jessie was her first friend after Nibelheim. Like, Tifa genuinely cared about her. Would have liked to have seen a little more of that. But otherwise, yeah. Now, as for Biggs and Wedge, I kind of put them in the same spot. A lot of the stuff with Biggs is just the fact that he has such an uncanny resemblance to a certain lapsed actor. But I personally love that he was played by Balthier from Final Fantasy XII, same voice actor. So, Biggs was fine, but wouldn't say he really stood out. Just enough that you're sad to see him go when it happens, but it's like, yeah, he was fine. More than anything, he worked best when he plays with his other two buddies, with Biggs and Jessie. They're a trio, and that's when they work best. But separately, around here. Same thing with Wedge. With Wedge, I would put him a little higher because, for me, I really, really loved that he was played by Badger. I love going into streams and people immediately going, "Is that Badger? Is that fucking Badger?" And it's even funnier when people mod in lines from Breaking Bad, because Breaking Bad, he's also talking to a Jessie. So at least there's some real funny bits. But beyond that, they laid it a little too thick with the "boy, I sure like to eat" jokes. Like, it's a weird thing because nobody makes fun of him for being fat. He's like mostly like making fun of himself. But that being said, it gets a little like, oh man, I could eat like 3 pizzas and I sure am hungry. It gets a little, So, with that in mind, nah, you know what? Nah, it's fine. I mean, I put Biggs above him, so. But again, they work best as a trio. Next, we got Marlene, and kind of like in other entries, there's not a lot to say about Marlene on herself. I think she gets like only a little bit extra screen time here, but kudos on getting what sounds like an actual child to play her and do like a really good job. Child actors, especially in Final Fantasy games, can be really not good. But here, they did a good job. Yeah, I hate that I'm struggling a little bit because I don't really got a lot to say. Again, they're setting something up with Marlene because of that whole interaction with Aerith. So we're going to have to see where that goes. But she does get like more bits with Barrett and the others, and it's, you know, it's adorable, but again, I guess maybe I'm still just sour that she doesn't have the bit where she's mixing drinks. Really, really bummed they took that part out. All right, now we got the Turks. Not that, no, he ain't a Turk. Where are they? Yeah. Boy, everybody's like really freakishly hot in the world of Final Fantasy VII. Why is everybody like so sexy? So Reno gets a really fun boss fight, and one of my favorite lines, where he just jumps off the chopper and goes, "There's nothing personal, bitch." that was a good bit. And, you know, I like that they established the Turks as like a legitimate threat in Remake. And just like him before, he plays best when he's paired with Rude here. And I love with Rude that they have the callback from Advent Children where you break his glasses and he immediately has an extra pair. In fact, I think Rude gets like a little. I think Rude he gets a little bit more than Reno in Remake, because I like that whole bit where you're seeing him like feeding some birds, and Aerith with her future vision is trying to like deflate the fight, saying like, "Cloud, he's not a bad guy," which leads to Rude saying, "She's right, I'm not a bad guy, but I do have to do bad things." And that's what leads to the surprising like little change where originally Reno was the one who pushes the button to destroy Sector 7. Instead, Rude is the one to do it. So that's just bringing back what he says, that, you know, I have to make the tough decisions because it's my job and all that. So Rude gets a little more. And Reno, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah. So I'm noticing here that I have completely messed up this thing here. I don't have sung. Shit. Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to fix that. All right, folks. I'm gonna need like a brief intermission here. I can't leave this the way it is. But don't worry, I can make this quick. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go over here. No, you know what? I can make it even quicker. I can fix this even quicker. Yep, I have an idea. So while I do that, I will regale you with wonderful moments of... I will regale you with wonderful moments of best friends.
Tifa?
Yes?
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Wait a minute. Cloud? Is that you? Oh my god, that makeup and that dress.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you.
Let's jump up ahead a little bit.
Courtesy of the ever-generous Don Corneo himself. Never forget, the Don provides. Yeah. Corneo!
So, ladies, ready to get to it?
Yeah. I guess I'm good to go whenever. How about you, Tifa?
4 guys between us. Okay, let's not keep Cloud waiting.
Right.
Wait. I know you. The Colosseum.
What the hell?
Get down!
Oh, you stupid! Wait!
Good job, Eric.
It was nothing compared to you.
It's the little smile that she gives before the chair comes down that I especially love. Man. Anyway, yeah, I got this right, but yeah, again, look, that's incredible. All right, so here's a song. A little unformatted, but whatever. Anyway, I sure went for a lot for where I don't really have much to say, but he gets like a couple of appearances, but they're cool. Like that they took out the unfortunate bit where he smacks Aerith, but he still does a threatening like slap gesture, like, hey, you better keep quiet. So they at least keep that part about him. So yeah, pretty much same spot as Reno. That just leaves the Shinra executives here. So again, everybody is a massive improvement just by nature of having more time, more development, and all that. So President Shinra, he just gets more, and I just love what a complete like sleazeball he is. Looking very like looking very like kind of unhealthy. Somebody who just smokes 1,000 cigars a day, but he don't care. He's top of the world, but always wants more. I especially got a good giggle over the golden gun he pulls out and points at Barrett, and you can see that the name Shinra is written on the gun. Just thought that was a real funny little bit there. But, you know, his purpose is pretty much the same as it was in the original game, where he's kind of a red herring. Somebody to get dispatched in light of the real villain. So... yeah, pretty much. Like I said, everybody here is an improvement. A complete improvement. So even the people at the bottom are still better than how they were originally. Just want to keep that in mind. I just want you to keep that in mind. Heidegger gets a little bit more because I think they do a much better job at balancing that this asshole is like in charge of the military, and he's kind of he's really like happy with his station, his status, and he still has that laugh of his. But he's also a lot less comedic because you get the rather sinister moments where he says like, "Ah, man, I sure miss killing Wu Tians. Those were the days." He's one of those. He's very much one of those. I love killing minorities and I love napalm in the morning kind of guy. So it gives him a little bit more of a serious threat going on there. So as a result, he gets to hang up here. Next up is Scarlet, who I'm very thankful for, just for, you know, in the hopes that maybe finally people can lay off Tifa a little bit. Because it's like, you know. Now, the question comes of whether they're natural or not, but yeah, so they lean into the creepy aspect of Scarlet here, who just loves to torment people. And now they've added a little bit of extra implied sexual gratification about that, like, you know, that guy that she uses as a footstool. And fun fact, his name is literally Ottoman, so that's something. I guess I'm just a little, the only thing I'm worried about is I hope they don't lean into it too much, the whole you know, getting the sexual thrill out of harming people, because I'm hoping that when the time comes that her and Tifa are going to have their encounter, and it's like, look, I know y'all are real horny. You want to see. You know, you got some. Let's be honest. You got some stuff in your head right now. I hope they don't get too weird about it, if you know what I mean. You know, once she's tied up in the chair, and you know it's supposed to be a threatening bit. It's supposed to be that Scarlet's going to gas her and all that. So let's not get too Dojin-ish with that. You know. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. It remains to be seen what they do with her. I hope they don't just forget the more crueler aspects. And we should be getting that in Rebirth, because we're going to get Barrett's flashback. So next up, we've got Reeve. Hi, Lord. I'm getting tired, aren't I? No, I was right. It is Reeve. Who, man, really looking more and more like that other Reeve by the day. It's almost uncanny. Yeah. So he gets a few scenes, and, you know, they're all in line with how he was originally, that he's like the only Shinra executive with a soul. So, beyond that, not too much I got to say about him, because, again, his stuff comes later. And it's going to be very interesting, again, to see the, if they do a much better job of showing, you know, the difference between him and his robotic autonomous cat buddy. Yeah. I feel I would like him a lot more if they showed more of him, so yeah, pretty much. Now, next up. Props to the design team for making Hojo the grossest, nastiest looking dude. Like, grosser than Don Corneo. Like, they just go full on sleaze bag with this guy in Remake. You almost feel the evil oozing out of his face. And they do a really good job of making you hate his guts right away, which is going to be real interesting in Rebirth, because everybody wants to see the bit where he's in a Speedo in Costa del Sol. But when the characters meet him in Remake here, they immediately are ready to kill him. They're like, "Oh, this guy, we kill him the second we see him, okay?" So, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Anyway, yeah. Of the Shinra people, I put him like right here. And just like before, I need to move this guy to the end because, in fact, I'm going to move 2 people here. No, actually, no. Now, once again, I'm noticing I'm missing somebody here. I'm missing Palmer. But I'm not gonna list him because Palmer gets like 1 scene, 2 cutscenes at most. Palmer is, yeah. Really, he's not worth mentioning here. In fact, that's the other thing. For anybody who's wondering why I don't have like so many of the new characters in here, no Andrea or Roche or Chadley, the reason for that is because this is just their first introduction. So if I were to put them in here, they would all be in the same pile. Like, I kind of feel equally about all of them. Now, I still think that most of them are like, they're rad. I don't necessarily agree that they all need to show up again. Like, I've seen enough of Chocobo Sam and all those guys. But apparently they're all going to make a return, so that's why I'm holding off on ranking them. The only one that I would consider ranking in a higher regard is Chadley. Mainly because they manage to take a character that should have been hated. It's like, oh, OG original kid and he looks like Hope and he's a VR simulation cyborg, whatever. It shouldn't have worked, but people liked him enough that they were happy to see him in the trailers for Rebirth, and that's kind of crazy. So props to the Chad. But yeah, that's why I'm not putting any of the new characters in here, because they're all... Now that being said, I was very tempted to put Roche, because I also found him entertaining. But again, he's a one-time boss. Gotta see more of him. So I'm gonna wait till, we get the full story about them and see where it goes. And then I'll do a final ranking of them. Now, if Roche gets a bunch of scenes in Rebirth, that's a different story. But for now, I'm kind of saving them for the end. Also, I messed up yet again. I missed yet another character here. I don't believe this. So I really should have maybe given this another pass. Give me just a quick sec here. Yeah, I'm pretty unprofessional this go around. Another cute image here. While I very quickly add the missing character. Man, I even had his portrait up. What happened? Am I missing anybody else? No. Nope. Alright, back to it. Rufus. Now, I said that I didn't include Palmer because Palmer only gets 1 or 2 scenes. Rufus also only gets 1 or 2 scenes, but they're also fantastic scenes. He maybe has the best boss theme in the entire game. I was like shocked how good it was. And it was just so fun seeing him with his gun and his dog and all that. And he has like one of the best diss lines in the whole game, where Cloud announces himself as a first-class soldier and Rufus very smarmily says, "Well, I guess that means I own you." So from that end alone, it's good enough to put him up here. Like, they save him for the end, but damn, what an entrance he makes. Now, at the risk of upsetting some Zack fans, and again, I would have originally not mentioned him because he also gets a super brief appearance. But yeah. Zack is kind of like how he was in original, where he's a plot point. His appearance in Remake is a surprise. It's a last minute, oh my gosh, wait, what's going on here? So even though I turned off notifications, the sound still pops up. Good to know. Yeah. This is where I put him, because we literally know nothing of Remake Zack or what they're going to do with him. Obviously, I think we're gonna get a good idea by Rebirth. So I'll be revisiting that when I see how they handle Zack there. But for now, it's just he's a plot point. He's a cameo. But that's a whole different story for who's coming up next. So I need just a couple seconds to... I need just a couple moments to get my thoughts together. So I need to find an image first, which I thought I had ready, but I guess I don't. Is she included here? Probably not. What if I do this? Yep. Well, that's not the one I was looking for. Oh, this is better. Here we go. Okay. Yep. Okay. By the way, thank you all for sticking by so far. Sorry if I'm stumbling a little bit this go around. I guess Thursday my mind gets a little scatterbrained, but I'm also like taking some deep breaths because I got a lot to say about Yuffie here. So I really wish, at least for this instance, I wish I was a more prominent and well-known streamer or influencer, whatever you want to say, because I don't get to brag enough that I called it with what they did here. I had it in podcast form saying that how amazing would it be that you're in Midgar in Remake and you get whispers about some young ninja girl dressed up in like completely dressed up in robes and a hoodie, just running around Midgar. And then the DLC for Intergrade comes out, and I am just completely blown away. Like, oh my god, they took my idea. They took my idea. So I said before how I deeply lamented how they did not use the Tifa chapter, and it was rumored for a while it was going to be DLC, and I wish it was. But I will tell you this. For as far as the choice coming down to the DLC being that missing Tifa chapter or being a Yuffie chapter, and if the choice was given to me, I would have picked the Yuffie chapter. They made the right call. Yuffie needed it more. Yuffie needed it way more. You know. This right here finally fulfills the desire after so many years, where Yuffie is now relevant. She's now relevant to the story. She's not optional. She's actually important this time around. She's important. Her country is important. Like Wutai is like a pivotal thing that keeps coming up. Like, it's important now. It's not just some town that you can visit. It's all like integral. And I love this design. You wanna get what's like bait for me? Bait for me is a character wearing a hoodie and a bunch of robes and flowing robes and scarves. That is a look that I jive with. And with the extra cuteness of having a Moogle hat here, it's like I adore this look. And if it were up to me, this would be her default look. You know, this is still good here. And thankfully, she'll be having a belt next time around. But, you know, I'm not going to complain about the classic Yuffie either. So Yuffie is, you know what? Why don't I just show you? Yep, straight up. They did such a great job with Yuffie in the DLC. This perfect balance of the charms of the character, the cuteness of the character, making her kind of this amateurish... No, that's not the right word. Making her like a little bit of bumbling, but still competent. She is still a skilled ninja girl who can do ninja stuff. That she can still fight. She can still do ninja runs and all that. It's just that she has a little bit of a confidence issue that she has to build herself up constantly. I really love how she basically rehearses her line to the Avalanche Rebels, like word for word. Like she's practicing her intro, and then meets Avalanche and does the entire spiel of members of Avalanche, we got this, and doing the stuff with the materia, and then further showing off and like really in ways that don't matter but are still very funny, like the nuts, the chow nuts that normal people they break their teeth trying to eat, and she just goes chompers, showing off them chompers. But yeah, I just love that Yuffie is now important to the story, that she was actually working with Avalanche. I love that she takes a look at Barrett and Tifa and their group she hears about, and she's like, oh, those guys are cool, I want to hang out with those guys. Just stuff like that I really, really liked. And furthermore, I guess I'll get to Sonon here next. So Sonon is one of the most red flag characters. No, red shirt. One of the most red shirt characters. He's even got a little red shirt. That might have been on purpose. You take one look at this guy from second one, you know he's going to die. I mean, it would make sense because, you don't... If this is still supposed to be canonical to the timeline of Final Fantasy VII, then, the fact that he's not around when you meet Yuffie is proof enough of that. But it was so obvious. But that being said, I still really liked his dynamic with Yuffie, because the thing is, you get the impression that he's only tagging around Yuffie to humor her, because he was like under orders from Yuffie's dad, like, hey, keep an eye on my daughter, make sure she doesn't shit the bed, all right? And he's like, yeah, you got it. But despite that, you don't get the feeling that he is annoyed by his station, and you also don't get the feeling that he's like humoring her, that he's not like, yes, Yuffie, whatever you say, you're so cool, Yuffie. Like, you get the feeling that he genuinely does like respect Yuffie enough that he would follow her. It's like, yeah, he's got eyes on her, but he still considers her capable. And I like that. And it's, later on it's because, oh, you remind me of my sister. So obviously he's taking up a guardian big brother role, and that totally ends the way you expect it does. But it's still enough for him to make a good enough impression. And you're sad to see him go. And part of me suspects that maybe you might see him again, just in a zombified state, which would be extremely tragic for Yuffie. But yeah, good stuff. Yep. So just like before, we got one more left. Always saving him for last. So it's really interesting about Sephiroth here. The creators, the devs, they straight up admitted that they had to show Sephiroth in Remake, even though he's technically not supposed to show up in this portion of the story. But they said that they had to do it because they knew that fans would be impatient. They would be upset if he didn't show up. And I kind of suspect that it was that mentality that led to the creation of the whole remake project. The whole idea that this is a remake, but it's also a sequel, because Sephiroth here is actually time traveling. This is Advent Children Sephiroth going back in time and deciding to do things different and influence things in some ways. Like, everything that happens in Remake, all the weird stuff that happens, like the whispers and the future vision and all of that stuff, happens because of Sephiroth. And I even got the proof right here. So, here is Aerith, her first introduction in Remake, and she's like, you know, she's being attacked and she doesn't know what she's being attacked of, like what's attacking her. She's like swinging around, and then this happens. That moment right there is how she got her future vision. When Sephiroth put his hand there, he was passing on his time powers or whatever when he made that contact. And I'm assuming he did that on purpose. And as for why he did it, I don't know. But it's that moment where all this starts, because right after Aerith gets attacked, then touches Cloud, and now Cloud is able to see the ghosties. And that's totally how it works. Sephiroth passes it to her. She passes it to Cloud. And I assume that Cloud passes it to Tifa when he, like, grabs her when they fall off the train. Or, no, before that, maybe. I'd have to go back and check. Yeah, there's a part where they reach out to each other and they grab hands. So maybe that was when Tifa got as well. It's they're not clear how some people get the visions stronger than others. Like, we see that Rufus doesn't get it at all. No, I'm sorry. Rufus does get it. Sung doesn't get it. So they're a little unclear how that works. But yeah, everything that happens is because of Sephiroth. And I'm wondering how far back they were planning this, because... Let me see if I can get... So I actually saw this today. I got to this part today, but there's a chapter here in the On the Way to a Smile book. And this book is like 2005 or whatever, so this is way back. But there's a chapter here. It's a 3-paragraph little intermission of Sephiroth in the live stream. And it's Sephiroth just straight up saying that he lost twice to Cloud, but he's not going to lose a third time. And he is maintaining his existence by tying it with Cloud, because it goes back to what I said in the previous stream, that Sephiroth is a living metaphor for Cloud's trauma, and he maintains his existence through Cloud. And you know, that leads to some... They really hammer it home here in this game. Like, we get they also dial up the gay a little bit, because we get lines like with Sephiroth saying, "Don't deny me, embrace me." Like, they're leaning into that a little bit of creepy stalker Roth who needs to get a restraining order. And, you know, naturally, his scenes are very entertaining, and they bring back a lot of the horror aspect of Sephiroth showing up and being all creepy-like in key moments. But, yeah, let me just... Okay, I'm replaying this bit here because... Alright. Yeah. This is potentially relevant to my discussion, so let's just get through it.
What is that?
Genova,
Mother, together we will reclaim our world.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of this. Cloud?
So, I don't know if Tifa touching Cloud's shoulder there allows her to see Sephiroth. The scene is a little, there's a lot of questions going on here. Like, she's not... I feel like she's not freaking out enough about the guy that she thought was dead, the guy that killed her dad and mortally wounded her, is now back. So, I don't know. I don't know if this ties into what they're teasing in the trailers of Sephiroth saying, I killed her, so who is she? I'm wondering if this is all gonna wrap around back. But regardless, I'm still giddy for whenever Cloud and Sephiroth meet, and Cloud makes no hesitation about, yo, I gotta kill this guy.
Tell me, is it really you?
Notice how he's grabbing his arm where he originally had geostigma? Because again, this is Advent Children Sephiroth. So, very interesting.
Don't deny me. Embrace me. A touching reunion.
So, you know, I'll never not love the constant back and forth with these two. How Sephiroth just continues to torment Cloud, like just get in his head and just be a constant source of misery. I think that just makes him just a great personal villain, and I'll continue to enjoy that, and that they're still, you know, that they're like, you know, back at it again here. But that being said, I do agree with what a lot of people said. They blew their Sephiroth load a little too early in Remake. We got so much of Sephiroth now that it leaves like me wondering, what are they going to do with him in part 2? Like, they have the final bosses with Sephiroth, they have like a big Advent Children style fight. So it's already established, they've already had like their big battle with him. So it leaves you wondering what's how are they going to step it up for Rebirth? Like, when the crew goes and they meet the dead Midgar Zolom, is that still going to hit? Because they know that Sephiroth is a big deal. They know it's like, yo, this guy threw a whole building at us in Remake. They shouldn't be super shocked when they see a dead Midgar Zolom. So, you know, I'm wondering what they're going to add to make Sephiroth be a more persistent, escalating threat in Rebirth. You know, if it's a case of Sephiroth being like, oh, baby, that was just a warm-up, you haven't seen what I'm capable of, then, you know, they could lean to that. But then there's also the deceitful shenanigans, the deceit with things like, hey, I killed Tifa. Are you sure that's Tifa? As well as, you know, other stuff that he's planning. So that could be what they use to, you know, make him, still make him a villain you want to see more of, rather than be sick of him in you know, the sequels. There's 2 whole games left with Sephiroth in it. I personally, I've said this before, I would love it if the final boss of Rebirth was safer Sephiroth. Just to, create that expectation of, oh my gosh, if we're fighting the final form now, what the heck is going to happen in the third game? That would honestly be pretty incredible if they did that. But yeah, they kind of blew their Sephiroth load a little early here. And as much as I really enjoy his cutscenes in Remake, I feel the more pragmatic choice would have been to wait until the Shinra building to start showing him. Because that is canonically when he shows up. If they had waited for... Let me see if I can even get to it. If this right here... Yeah. If they had waited until this moment, like throughout the entirety of the game, you don't get even a whisper. Heh. See what I did there? A whisper of Sephiroth. But then you wait until you get to the VR simulator that they get to here, and then this is when he shows up. Yeah, that would have been a big, like, oh!
No! Sephiroth.
Yeah, I think that would have been the smarter call. If they had waited till that moment. But it is what it is. The scene was still effective, but you know. Whew. Well, that's it. I have officially gone through the entirety, as of this recording, the entirety of characters' appearances throughout Final Fantasy VII and other stuff. Sure took a lot out of me, but I very much enjoyed doing this. And I'd like to think this helped get a lot of the anticipation of FF7 out of my system, because next week the floodgates are going to open. It's confirmed we're getting a demo. There's going to be that State of Play show, which I'm extremely worried about watching for spoilers. But going forward, that's it. No getting off of this train we're on. The train is going to keep going without stops. And then most likely, I mean, hopefully not, but then there's the possibility that there's going to be a data mine and leaks will happen, in which case I'm shutting off the internet. All of it. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, etc. All of it. All of it. Until the day when the game comes in my hands, and that's all I'm going to focus on. But for now, this is the end of my rankings. So, as a final recap, Masters of Fate, Aerith is the MVP of Remake. Her actress does an absolutely incredible job. I love that she actually cosplays as Aerith with the chair. So, pretty much everyone unanimously agrees about her dynamic with Tifa is like the most beloved thing of Remake. So I have no complaints. Cloud, welcome back, Cloud. It's been a while. It's great to see him back, in a much more balanced way where we're rooting for him and he's not just a sad sack, Yuffie finally being relevant. Finally, I've had to endure a lot of years of people hating Yuffie, so it was really comforting. It was just really heartwarming to just see the turnaround. To see people legitimately cheering and happy for Yuffie and looking forward to her in Rebirth. So they did right by Yuffie and then some. Barrett, very strong start, has some of the really emotional pop-offs, just kind of like in the original. They do a great job with his expressions and emotions, but his best stuff is yet to come. Same with Tifa. Tifa's best moments are still to come. So I get that they're like withholding a bit of that. Like, a lot of people think that that Tifa's gonna just sit on her hands for Rebirth, and it's like that is so obviously not going to happen. She's on the box, and then there's that new subplot that they're hinting at with Sephiroth. It's like the reason you're not seeing a lot of her in the trailers is because obviously there's a lot of spoiler related stuff with her that they don't want to reveal. You know, use some common sense, folks. Tifa's best moments are yet to come, but you know, plenty great stuff here. Same thing with Red 13. Red 13, from a visual standpoint, he deserves to be high up here. He's just a joy to watch, and I'm just looking forward to you know, the stuff that's coming forward. They pretty much confirmed we will be seeing him on 2 legs wearing a sailor suit. That is going to be a spectacle, especially with these visuals. Jessie, again, they took a character that was barely anything and made her into something, so she deserves a spot here. Kind of overdoes it with the flirting, but then when you stop and think that, you know, a lot of that might be her putting up an act and all that. And, oh yeah. Apparently it's actually canon that she actually taught Tifa a few moves. Like, a lot of the balletic flourishes that Tifa does in her moveset, Jessie taught her. Apparently they had dancing sessions and all that, so I think that's actually gonna carry over to her date in Gold Saucer. It is speculated that Tifa's date, based on some posters here, I don't know if I'll be able to find it here, but it's speculated that Tifa's date is going to be like a sort of cabaret dance remake thing going on. Especially because, well, now I'm not going to be able to find that there's posters that are called like The Beat, as in Beat Rush, and it shows a girl with flowing black hair as Tifa has and all that. So I think that might be what they're going for. That Tifa's going to have like a dance-off, a solo dance performance thing, and then when it's done, she'll be like, yeah, Jessie taught me. And that's a good way to bring it all back together. Sephiroth, again, Sephiroth scenes are always going to be incredible, but they also kind of, it now runs the risk that maybe you over Sephirothed a bit, so gonna have to see where they go with that. Biggs and Wedge, a fun dynamic when the three of them are all together like this. When it's the trio, they're fun, but otherwise, you know, not too much to say about them. Rude has a little bit more to stand out from Reno. Oh yeah, I also super love the bit where Reno and Rude are on the chopper, and Reno has his sights on Tifa, like he's gonna shoot at her, and then Rude moves the steering so that he misses. Reno's like, "What the hell?" And Rude's like, I slipped." And if you play the original, you know that was on purpose. That was a fun little moment there. Hojo, always a scumbag, always a delight to see what an awful, legitimately awful human he is. Barely a human. Rufus only shows up like literally at the very, very end, but gets such a great entrance. Sonon, fun. Our first official introduction to combo attacks, which we're going to get in Rebirth, and I'm so happy about that. Again, I like that even though he's clearly meant to keep an eye on Yuffie, he does so in a respectful manner. That he still, like, you know, considers her a partner and all that, so that's fun. Marlene, not a lot to say. It looks like she's going to have a bigger role in Rebirth, so we're going to have to see what they do with that. I already mentioned Reno here, him and Rude. And Sung. Not a lot to say with Sung, but I do like the cold and stoic presence that they continue to do with him. Will he ever be a boss fight? I don't know. Probably not, but who knows. Heidegger, help make him... I like that they've made him less of a clown. So, you know, appreciate to make him more of a military man who's very much abusing his power. President Shinra, not too much different from how he was in the original, but gets a very chilling voice, and it's just, you know, it's just fun to see evil scumbag sitting behind his desk chewing on a cigar and all that. His encounter with Barrett was also like really fun to watch. Scarlet, you know, definitely leaning on the sexy, evil businesswoman type, who's clearly getting some sort of sexual thrill from tormenting people. So, hope they don't get too weird about that. I know there's the temptation there. I know people really want to see a Dead or Alive style fight with her and Tifa, but it's like, unless she like injects herself with Mako juice or wears some sort of power armor, there's nothing that would stop Tifa from just knocking her out of the stratosphere. I hope personally, when the time comes, they just make it an optional. They just make it a multiple choice thing. It's like press square to slap back, press X to just knock the bitch out, one hit. That's the best way to do it, in my opinion. Reeve, not much to say, but you know, I'm interested to see more of him and do further. Him and Kate Sith, I really want to see what they're going to do with it, with both of them. And Zack, again, Zack is a plot point. It's a cameo appearance. That little bit where he goes to the church and he's like preparing himself to like meet Aerith again. That's cute, but we're gonna have to see what they do with it. I'm actually very worried about Zack. I hope they don't show too much Zack, or if they do, it's interesting. But this is the story of Cloud and friends. I don't want it to constantly cut back, and like 20% of the game is focused on Zack. I really don't want that. But yeah, that's it. So I want to thank those of you who came in to listen and watch. I'm really tempted to try to do one more stream. Thing is, I kind of want to do one more stream where I'm just reminiscing of FF7, so I can share like a couple of personal stories of the original. And that would be like a fun thing if other people got involved, but that really depends if, like, you know, if people will engage in the chat, or maybe they'll just listen to me have my soliloquy or whatever. And I hope I used that word, I hope I used that term right. But anyway, yeah. This is the end for now. I'm deeply tired. Streaming is hard, so but it is fun. And I might do more tier lists in the future. There are other series I hold to dear to my heart besides FF7, but yep, glad I did this. We're officially done here. And you know, I'll put these up on Twitter. My results. Yeah, here we are. In case you just want one final look at where we started and where we ended up, here they are. So here's original. Still stand by everything I've done here. And compilation. Yep. Was kind of tempted to mention the Deep Ground folks again, but they're boss fights. And again, they're probably going to return. Maybe. So I'd rather wait for the end for that. Even though I vastly enjoyed the Narrow fight. That was a cool ass sequence in Yuffie's DLC. I thought that was an amazing boss fight. And Vice I still haven't beaten, and I'd like to beat him before Rebirth, but I don't know. It's going to require some practice. I don't know if I'll have the patience to get that done. And finally back here to Remake. But yeah, that's it. We're done. So yep. That's the end of the stream. Finished a little earlier, thankfully. But anyway, I hope you all had fun. I hope you're looking forward to next week. I will. I don't know if I'm going to watch that show, but I will play that demo. Absolutely. No questions asked. All right. Good night, everybody.